Hey everyone, my name is Johnny. I'm a musician and drummer living in Toronto, Canada. I wanted to hop on here because I've had a lot of my musician and entertainment friends share a recent quote by Brian Eno about NFTs. I've been approached several times to make an NFT. So far, nothing has convinced me that there's anything worth making in that arena. Worth making for me implies bringing something into existence that adds value to the world, not just to a bank account. If I had primarily wanted to make money, I would have had a different career as a different kind of person. I probably wouldn't have chosen to be an artist. NFTs seem to me just a way for artists to get a little piece of the action from global capitalism, our own cute little version of financialization. How sweet. Now artists can become little capitalist assholes as well. It's a bit of a negative quote, and having been in the NFT scene and really doing research and poking around for the last 9 months, I kind of feel very differently about this quote. I don't really agree with it in many ways, and I just thought I would kind of hop on here and go line for line on how I perceive NFTs and how I'm thinking differently from what Brian Eno is stating. And I don't mean this to be a video to try and convince anyone. I'm just trying to show you maybe the other side to people who are currently in the NFT space, especially a musician like myself, and what we see with NFTs. So I'm gonna go line through line here and just give you my thoughts on what I think. Right off the top, Brian Eno's quote says, "I've been approached several times to make an NFT. So far, nothing has convinced me that there's anything worth making in that arena." So right off the bat, it just seems like Brian Eno has sadly not done enough true research and investigating about NFTs. And I say that because I've been poking around daily for the last 9 months, and I just wouldn't ever say a quote like that, because once you really dive deeper into NFT technology, that there is so much potential for this, and you also realize that this technology is here to stay whether you like it or not, and you really start to see how you can utilize this in many aspects of business and art and creation and contracts in general. So right off the bat, this quote kind of lost me because it just showed a bit of an ignorance, and I hate to use that word, but I find it difficult to believe that he would have put as much research into it as someone like me would have put in. And I still feel lost on this space, but learning what I've learned so far, the possibilities seem endless just from what I've learned in the last 9 months. The following line after that says, "Worth making for me implies bringing something into existence that adds value to the world, not just to a bank account." I think there's this preconceived notion with NFTs, especially from headline news, that X NFT just sold for $100 million, or this project sold for this. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people are in this space to make a quick buck. And that's because this space right now, it's kind of like the Wild West. There's not a lot of regulation, anything goes. There is money laundering, there is quick deals, there are people losing money, and that's part of the excitement about the space, but that's also a lot of the fear in the space. But that doesn't mean that the technology is not valid or game-changing for Web3 and for where society is headed. He says bringing something into existence that adds value to the world. Creating an NFT in itself is bringing something into existence. It's bringing it into existence in the digital form, into the digital world. And I know that at the root of all of this is difficult for people to wrap their head around. In the same way that owning a CD and then switching to MP3s may have been difficult for people of my generation to wrap their head around, or maybe more my brother's generation, born in the late 70s, early 80s. Cut to today, and we're streaming music on a platform. We don't actually own any of the music for the most part, and that would have been tough for someone to understand 20 years ago, for example. So that's where we're at right now with NFTs. It's hard for people to grasp what digital assets are for. A lot of people say I can right click and save an image, and that doesn't mean anything. But you have to understand that as life and society progresses more into the digital world, digital meetings happening, digital get-togethers, digital games, people are going to need to own something. People do value this. Whether you don't value a digital asset, there are a lot of people out there who do value it. And at some point, the world will value digital assets, and having the proof of that asset will be undeniable. So yes, a lot of people are in NFTs to make a quick buck. It's true, but there are so many projects out there that are in it for the long term that have a lot of real world utility. For example, I own a Gary VeeFriend NFT. And aside from all of the cool things that have come with that, being part of this community, being part of this club, I do get access to go to his conference for the next 3 years. And it has a lot of other perks as well, which he will continue to implement over the next 30 to 40 years. So I'm proud to own one of his NFTs. The next line in this quote says, "If I had primarily wanted to make money, I would have had a different career as a different kind of person. I probably wouldn't have chosen to be an artist." So that line in itself is all subjective. I'm a musician, I'm an artist, and I unfortunately just think differently. I believe that music is an outlet in its essence, but essentially music is a business, and that's just how I view it, and that is definitely not how a lot of musicians view it, but I view it that way. It is a business, and it doesn't have to be treated like this strict kind of business, but we do have to make money. We are making a living, and people who do want to take their music to the next level do have to treat it as a business. And Brian Eno has had a lot of success, and whether he likes to think it or not, he does treat his work like a business. And at some point in time, you do have to treat it that way. I'm not even referring to NFTs, but it just seems like a weird quote coming from a successful artist. I know he didn't get into it for money, but he is very successful, and there's no doubt that he treats his music and his art like a business right now. And at some point, he had to treat it that way. The next line says, "NFTs seem to me just a way for artists to get a little piece of the action from global capitalism, our own cute little version of financialization." And yeah, I just see this as him taking a jab at NFTs once again without doing the research. It's clear because I know if he did put in the time, if he put in 20, 40, 50 hours of research and really poking around on NFTs, I know he wouldn't be saying this, because when you really learn about the capabilities of what NFTs can do, you just don't really think this way. You feel like there's an abundance, an infinite world of possibilities with this technology just based on digital ownership verification, meaning that you can put ownership to anything you own in the digital space. Here on my computer, I can put ownership to anything. One way of looking at it is right now, we're on Instagram, for example, or Facebook, and you're posting your photos on there, and someone could copy them and share them. And anytime you post them, you're essentially just posting them and giving the rights to Facebook or Meta, to Instagram of your photos. But now with NFT technology and moving forward, we will very well live in a world where anything you share online, any post, a post of your family, a post of yourself, of a skyline, you can add the ownership, proving to people that I do own this. And if anyone else wants to use it, you have proof that that came from you, that you created it. So I think there's a bit of a misconception that people are just in the NFT space to create something that is nothing. It's digital, it's not physical, and you can't hold it. And people are trying to make a quick buck. And some people are, like I said, people who maybe aren't thinking long term. But for the people who are thinking long term, and there are many, many people in the space thinking long term, this is just a way of verifying ownership in the digital realm. And it's verified on a blockchain, meaning that it can't be altered and anyone can view the ownership at any time. It is public knowledge. There is no funny business that's happening there. It's all public knowledge. The final line is a bit of the cherry on top for this quote. He says, "How sweet. Now artists can become little capitalist assholes as well." And that's just a very ignorant line there. I don't agree with it at all, nor do I feel like artists should feel bad about trying to be capitalist and trying to make money and trying to treat their art as a business, because a lot of successful artists over the years do treat their art like a business. And in my humble opinion, I feel like when you start treating your art and music like a business, people start taking you seriously. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, nor do I feel like there's anything wrong with someone who wants to create purely for the sake of creating. But in my opinion, once again, that person then can't complain about not making money or people not wanting to spend money on them. Because I truly believe that if you show to the world that you take your art seriously and want to progress it, that to me is treating it like a business, and that's how you get to the next level. If you want that, and that's not for everyone, but I do feel like there's nothing wrong with an artist wanting to treat their work and their art like a business. And That is capitalism, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think consumers ultimately have the right to choose to not purchase whatever it is you're trying to sell, and that could be an NFT, but it doesn't mean that you have to be upset at an artist for trying something different. And I know that a lot of people out there are coming from a good place when they're trying to put out an NFT. With my band, for example, I 100% plan on doing digital collectibles, which are essentially NFTs, whether you say that word or not. And I really want to bring our fans along for the ride with that, as I know it is 100% where tech is going. This technology is not going anywhere. It's very evident if you put some serious time into NFTs and researching. I shouldn't use the word research. What I should say is scouring YouTube and Twitter to see what the conversation is, what the dialogue is about NFTs for people who are in the space, and seeing what kind of directions people are forecasting this to go into, and understanding what projects people are excited about and what new technological phenomenons in the space people are excited about, and just getting a sense of what is happening in that scene. That's what I mean by research. And YouTube and Twitter are the main spots for where all crypto talk and all NFT talk is happening for the most part. Another big argument, and a valid argument, is that NFTs are bad for the environment. And I know there was a lot of headlines about that, especially 7 to 8 months ago, I believe. That's when all of that came out. And since then, there have been so many advances in blockchain technology. Ethereum does generate a lot of electricity and power, and it takes a lot to get those transactions rolling. But since those headlines have come out, there have been a lot of layer 2 technologies that have come out which operate on top of the Ethereum blockchain, so they don't require the same kind of power that Ethereum requires. There's also a lot of other blockchains like Tezos, for example. And Tezos has NFTs that are verified on the Tezos blockchain. And Tezos does not use the same amount of energy that Ethereum uses. The environmental thing is constantly improving. So there are a lot of ways for artists to still be involved with NFTs without doing them on the Ethereum blockchain. And I'm definitely in support of doing everything we can for the environment, and I don't want to see anything come about that would affect the environment. But this technology is here to stay. It's not going away. As more things are going digital, this is the way that you will be able to track things digitally and show proof of ownership for everything. So I'm not trying to offend anyone in any ways. I appreciate you listening to my side and my take on this quote by Brian Eno. I hope you enjoyed the video in some capacity, and I appreciate you watching once again. Please like and comment down below. I'd love to start a dialogue, and I hope to see you all next time. Goodbye.